are you doing?
Filming?
Pictures of us?
Yeah.
Can I get your badge number?
0016.
Go.
Is it shiny enough for you?
It's very shiny, sir.
All right. Give me your driver's license, Mr. Fifth Amendment rights.
You filming right now?
I am.
How come?
He's got a camera on. He's got a camera on me right now as we're talking.
So we will start with the opening statement for Andrew Henderson.
Thanks. So I'm Andrew Henderson. I've been a 5-year resident of Little Canada. I decided to run for city council because I've seen way too much government overreach, too many stupid laws on the books, and hopefully I am able to change some of that to stop it and reverse it, and hopefully I'm able to educate some of the public about the insanity going on in today's government. Thank you.
So what are your qualifications for service on the city council? Or you could rephrase the same question as, why should someone vote for you?
During my 5 years here, I have had a direct part in repealing or amending 9 ordinances in the city of Little Canada that were outdated, that have been on the books for years and no one has ever looked at. As a community advocate and organizer, I've constantly stood up to government overreach for citizens, not only in Little Canada, but in the metro area. And I'm not afraid to stand up for what's right. I'm not afraid to go against the grain, to say no to bad government, to bad practices and to bad policies. So I think that qualifies me to stand up for the people and the people's best interests.
What kinds of ideas would you present for all of the vacant city-owned properties and other vacant businesses in this city?
Sure. Recently I went on a trip to St. Louis, Missouri to visit family. And they have this wonderful program there that if there is a vacant lot, a citizen can take care of that vacant lot for 2 years worth of time. And after they have shown that they can take care of that lot, they then own that lot. The city gives them that lot, free of back taxes and stuff like that. And I think a system like that would work wonderfully, not only in Little Canada, but maybe in some other places too. But I think implementing something like that would be great. Also, using vacant lots for stuff like community gardens, possibly community centers, stuff like that, without having taxpayer-funded whatever going into that. I mean, people taking care of their own community would be great to see for those vacant lots and those vacant homes. So, thank you.
Thank you. So what would you say about the effects of U.S. drug policy on the residents of Little Canada? And do you, as part of this, what are your thoughts on legalizing recreational use of marijuana?
Thank you. I have 2 points of views on this. First is from personal liberty. You own your body, and you should be able to put in it whatever you want, as long as you're not hurting another person. The war on drugs has failed. There are many people sitting in prison for nonviolent victimless crimes, for dispensing plant matter. We've seen lately that people get less time in jail for rape than they do for selling a little bit of drugs. That is absolutely ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening in America. That's filling our prisons. America has the highest prison population in the entire world. And that's mainly due to the war on drugs. Now, from a statist point of view, legalizing marijuana brings in a lot of tax money. Just a ton. Last year, I went to Colorado on vacation to purchase legalized weed and smoke it. And I inhaled and I got high. So, yeah. And it's not what you think. I mean, Colorado, it's clean. I was downtown Denver. It's not a bunch of druggies hanging outside of these pot shops, getting high, mugging people. it's clean. It's like going to a pharmacy. It's like going to any other store you can imagine. Colorado's crime rate has dropped since marijuana has been legalized. Millions of dollars have been put into schools, and jobs have been created. So many jobs from the marijuana industry. I am in full support of full legalization of marijuana in Minnesota.
So given what had recently occurred in Falcon Heights with the police shooting and other communities throughout the country, what steps would you propose at Little Canada City Council level to be prepared for such an unfortunate event?
Well, police accountability is a huge issue with me. Now, I'm not totally understanding this question. Are you asking about protests, or are you asking about if a police officer shoots an unarmed black male? Or an armed black male that doesn't pose a threat?
And I have a couple of questions about code, but I'm going to ask it a little bit differently. And I'm going to give a scenario and then ask for how you would respond. So we could call this the rights of the one versus the rights of the many. So someone appears before the city council to request a change in their property, maybe a division of their lot or putting up a building. And then the majority of the neighborhood comes in and is opposed to this person's wanting to divide their lot or put up this building. So what would your vote be, and why would you vote that way?
Well, I'm a huge believer in property rights. I think you should be able to do whatever you want on your property as long as it doesn't hurt another person. If you want to make a 2,000 square foot garage and a 300 square foot tiny home, I'm all for it. That's your property. You own that. I would definitely vote yes, just about anything. As long as it doesn't harm another person, I don't care what you do.
So what recommendations would you make for a more inclusive city government?
I think the two easiest things to make government more inclusive to other people living in this city is, first of all, firmly establish a community open forum in the city council meetings. Right now there is no set forum, there's no, open forum is part of the council meetings. I would like to see that happen so that cannot be taken away from the citizens, so that it's advertised like, hey, come on, if you have a problem, come speak to us. Let us know what's going on. Also, I think ease of access to the website, or not ease of access, but an easier user interface on the city's website would help a lot. It's sometimes difficult to navigate the website, and I think that needs a little bit of work, and that should be pretty simple to do. So, yeah.
So what do you see as the biggest challenge for bringing new businesses into Little Canada, and what can the city councils do to make it easier for businesses to start here and to grow here?
Yeah, I believe that reducing and eliminating fees and licenses would bring business into Little Canada. I believe it's your natural right to have a business, and you shouldn't need to beg permission to start one or to expand one. You shouldn't need to beg permission to sell certain items. I believe that every transaction between two people is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it.
So how do you suggest Little Canada makes money without raising property taxes?
Sure. Well, I guess first of all, I see property tax as theft by coercion. It's like paying rent on property you already own. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way that I would ever vote for any raise in property taxes. I think better means to make more money for the city is, first of all, cutting out trying to figure out the best way of saying this, is to cut out services that are not needed or overused, and voluntary contribution by people. I believe in a voluntary society where if people would like something nicer, like if they want a new warming house for the ice rink, they could contribute money or time into building it. I would much rather see people taking care of their communities than being, forced by gunpoint to pay more taxes. So yeah, that's where I stand on that issue.
What recent book have you read that you'd recommend?
I would recommend a book called Authoritarian Sociopathy by Davi Barker. It's pretty much it pretty much warns of the dangers of the belief in authority, and talks about the Malmgren experiment. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but it was an experiment where a person would deliver a fake electric shock to another person and keep going and going, and it would eventually kill them, like fake kill them. They had the belief that they killed another human person, and they did this under the directive of authority. The belief that they weren't responsible for their own actions because an authority figure told them it was okay. I think that's a very important lesson for people to learn, that it is okay to say no to bad authority. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend that book.
How can you help make Little Canada more green?
Well, I don't think we should be looking to government for examples of being green. Government has been in the top 5 polluters in the United States for the past 10 years running. But the people can do stuff to be green. They can plant pollinator-friendly gardens. They can collect rainwater. They can keep bees. They can reuse, fertilizers for the fertilizer from backyard chickens in their gardens. This is a citizen-led initiative, not a government-led initiative.
Closing statement by Andrew Henderson.
Thank you. I guess I would just encourage people to stop asking permission to exercise your natural rights. Stop asking permission to do simple upgrades on your home. Stop asking permission to put a box of books on your property. If you wouldn't ask permission from your neighbor to do something, why would you ask permission from a stranger? Your liberty does not begin anew today or on election day or on inauguration day. Your liberty begins anew right now. You have the decision to either follow what a bunch of strangers tell you what to do, to follow the mob rule of so-called democracy, or to actually have freedom and liberty. Just do things. Just say no to bad laws. And I encourage you to spread a message of freedom to other people. I know the first step is hard. It is hard to say no to perceived authority, but it gets easier. Trust me, it does. If I had property, I would have chickens and a box of books, and I wouldn't care what the government thought of it. And I encourage you to do the same. Thank you.
Hoarded all the fruits and all the vegetables and grains. I kept them for myself, but made a price that you could pay. And from this early pattern, a structure to become. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. I hired you to work for me so you could buy my food. Created an economy that barely gave a clue. Then you did all the labor, but I got all the funds. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. I built a giant fortress where my family could reside. I filled your workers up with myths of patriotic pride. I filled my life with luxury and politics and fun. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. I sent the children off to schools to be taught and trained in the roles that benefit and keep the system maintained. I kept them from their history and slowly made them dumb. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. I launched a million wars in the name of private greed. Killed off all the natives from the mountains to the sea. I murdered them with slavery and smallpox and guns. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. I built with brick a place for those who wouldn't play my game, who refused to fight my wars for me or papers to my name. I built a giant prison wall so people couldn't run. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. Gave some of you back some freedom with my silly Bill of Rights. Used all the proper language so you wouldn't rise to fight. I fooled you all with imagery, now look what I've become. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. Yes, I fought long and hard to secure my place on top, with bombs and tanks and crack cocaine and violence from the cops. I kept you apathetic and this is how I've won. And that's about the only thing that governments have done. Yeah, that's about the only thing that governments have done.
If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset.